Good morning, folks. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We'll just give a few more moments for anyone who's still arriving into the session. Apologies if anyone's been confused by timings. Those who are responsible will be fired. That's me. So just while we're setting up or whilst we're waiting for those next few people, so I'm Anthony, for those of you who haven't met me before, and we're just doing our power class this morning. I'm going to relatively stick to the sequence with a few little adjustments and alterations in there. Like always in a power session, if you've got a brick, then do feel free to go and grab it or have something around you that does resemble this. Preferably something that has some height for this orientation, so some extra height there. And that's going to help you out with your balances a little bit. Okay, so feel free to go and grab yourself something like that. Could be a stack of books, could be maybe even some tin cans perhaps. Don't know, maybe two tin cans stood on each other. Don't use anything glass. You'll find out to your cost. And that's all. So I think we'll just get started. Are we ready, Ferdy? Is there folks with us? Hello, folks. Hello, folks. Okay, so just have your bricks somewhere relatively close by. Don't be too confused by this orientation and mats. You don't need to do this at home. This is just so I can sometimes turn sideways so you can see things a little clearer. So let's come towards the front end of the mat and have your feet hanging underneath your hips, so hip width apart, not over squeezing those thighs and bringing them close together. Just have them comfortably hanging under the hips. And what happens here if we just take a little micro bend into the knees and just observe the tracking of those knees and just make sure that your ankles are then comfortable to allow those knees to track straight forwards. Then let's bring your hands onto your abdomen and just feel your lovely squidgy bellies. Mine's very squidgy this morning. And then I'm going to see if I can just sink the hands into the tissue and start to firm into that abdominal area. Now, it's not about pulling inwards and restricting your body to move, nor is it about kind of trying to crunch into those abdominals. It's actually deeper down, and we're thinking of firming up, and you'll feel it press back into your hands a little bit. And you can feel it also into the side body, and that's going to help stabilize the spine. So from here, once we've firmed a little there into the abdomen, just let your arms come down by the sides. Notice if you feel this pull forwards from shoulders, just give yourself a little bit more pride in the chest there, opening up the collarbones. Let the arms perhaps even journey a bit further away from the edges of the body, so we're giving some space here underneath the armpits. And perhaps a little bit of external rotation there, so the thumbs lifting up a little bit. And let's close the eyes and start to feel your way into your body. Checking in on that breathing, so perhaps beginning to work with our Ujjayi Pranayama, that sound of the ocean in the back of the throat, or imagining that the head is one of those giant conch shells, and you've got the sound of the ocean just swirling around inside your head, and you're feeling that ocean going through the rest of the body. And just easing the breath into a steadier, calmer rhythm. And let's allow those arms to slowly come up over the heads. Take your next steady breath in, lift the side body. So the soft tissues, skin, muscles, fascia, all those various little softer structures in the body are just moving up and lifting away from the skeleton, which anchors down into the floor. Let's take a hold of the right wrist there, of the left wrist with the right hand. I'm not mirroring you there, so that's not helping. But I'm lifting up out of the way, so I'm going to arc across towards that right-hand side. So I'm moving across towards the right, feeling that lovely open space there into the left side of the ribs. Noticing here that as I'm arcing across, I'm keeping those sitting bones moving down towards the floor, and I've actually got a softening into the knees. Firming still into the abdomen to support that spine. Next, steady breath in. Let's press through the legs, lift up a little taller. Let's exchange those hands over. So holding onto the right wrist with left hand. Use perhaps a next inhalation to climb a little bit taller and then arc across towards the left side. And we're giving some space there in between the ribs and in between that space there, between your rib cage and your pelvis. Those areas often get quite tight, so just feeling this space just opening up with this sideways lean. Take your next steady breath in, firm into the abdomen as you come back up. Let's go across again towards that right-hand side, holding onto left wrist, and just thinking here that you can maybe drag the skin and the layers just beneath the skin over the bones. Take your next steady breath in, coming back up through center, exchange over again, and arcing across towards that left side. Staying firm in that core, but keeping the breath moving. Do we still have that soft ocean breathing moving around inside our skull? Come back through the center, and let's interlace the fingers and bend at the elbows. Let your head fall back. And just imagine that your thumbs can melt down into the soft tissues of your neck there, and they can press and slide the muscles down the spine. And we're lifting the elbows in opposition and arcing backwards in space. Now notice here, I'm still firming into the abdomen, but I'm not letting the bum move backwards in overarching spine. Perhaps, if anything, I'm going to push the feet down, perhaps even slightly behind me, so I can move the pelvis forwards. And that allows you the space there to open up the front line down the hips and into the legs. Take your next steady breath in, come back up through center. Let's allow the arms to just release and come up towards the sky. Soften your knees a little bit and let the sitting bones move back. So we're coming towards an Utkatasana position, a chair position. Just reach your right fingers further forwards in space and feel that stretch moving down the back here. So those right fingers moving far away from your right sitting bone. And then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to start to move the left arm across the body and begin a twist. So I'm going to bring that left forearm down onto the thigh, pushing into the legs and trying to yawn open the chest as I arc across sideways. So my left ear is now becoming a little bit heavier. I'm staying firm into the abdomen. I'm going to push through two strong legs, the feet spreading into the floor, opening out through the Utkatasana. My left fingers reach out into space as I push down through the legs. Right arm sweeps across the body, and then I slightly curve the spine here to help try and find the legs, but allow that deep bend into your knees and hips. Spiral around that skeleton of your spine there, like you're rotating around like a rotisserie chicken. Take your next steady breath in, push the feet down. We're coming back through center towards that Utkatasana position. And then from here, let's hinge forward into the waist. Take that Uttanasana, forward bend. Relax your neck. Now, as you're taking your forward bend there, just feel your shoulder blades sliding up the back. So we're not completely letting everything hang down here, completely passive position. There's still engagement of those muscles holding the shoulder blades on the back. But I'm letting the spine be heavy, the rib cage be heavy. And with your next steady breath in, we're going to push those feet into the floor. Slide the fingers up your shins, bring them to your hands, or hooking them around your knees there, like you've got a little horseshoe thumb and index finger connection. And we're going to push down and open up the chest. Shoulder blades move down the back. Again, firm into the abdomen. Maybe you feel more comfortable to let the arms come out into space there. And with your exhale, take a forward bend. Let's lean into the left foot, step the right foot back, coming into that lunging position. So preparation here for those step backs into our planks, make sure that your shoulders are now hovering over those wrists. And as we press down through the hands and draw the rib cage in, I'm going to float the left foot back and move the heart a bit further forwards. Take a steady breath in. We have the option, if we'd like, to lower the knees down. With your next exhale, we take chaturanga. Lower down onto your front, and with your next steady breath in, roll shoulders back and lift the chest. Let's stay here for a few rounds of breath. Just feeling the shoulders move down the back, so I'm anchoring them down with muscles there, those latissimus dorsi in particular, pulling them down the back. I'm pushing and protracting the shoulders forwards to help lift my chest up towards the sky and lift even perhaps the pelvis away from the floor. I've got that firmness into the abdomen. And then let's release back down towards the floor, tuck the toes underneath. Next breath in, firm into the belly, come back up through an all fours position, and then let's press back into down dog. Maybe wander your hands back a little bit if you want to deepen into the position. Options here, of course, are to tread your way into down dog. You may prefer to rise and fall both heels. That's a lovely way also to train into those calf muscles a little bit and just ease into the backs of the knees. You may prefer to bend into those knees a little more so you can get a bit more space into the lower back. But be careful here of dropping your rib cage down towards those knees and actually keeping a tightness into the lower part of the spine and just overextending the shoulders. So I'm going to keep those a bit closed and focus into the lower part of the back. Take your next breath in, let's lift the heels. With an exhale, bend the knees and look towards your thumbs, perhaps a little bit beyond. Stepping, walking, or maybe one big jump forwards towards the front end of your mat. Take a breath in, slide fingers up your shins, just lift out of the waist. Exhale for dive forwards. Bend your knees. Roll up. Feel the journey through the back. I'm pressing down through the feet and perhaps slightly backwards. Come on up to standing. Arms come up overhead. Take the breath in here as you move the pelvis a little forwards, pushing the pelvis slightly forward and down. Exhalation, move the pelvis backwards, hinge at the waist, take forward, bend. Breath in, allow the fingers to slide up your shins, push the feet down and lengthen out your spine. Exhale, dive back down, hands into the floor, lean into the right foot, and let your left foot this time reach back and float it into the ground. Now really allow yourself to sink into these lunges. A tendency is to keep yourself up here, which then keeps the pelvis up for our planking positions. So let your legs be a bit more relaxed, so that you can find that elasticity into the legs. And then I'm going to push those hands through the floor, hugging the ribs inwards to create that engagement into the chest. Step back with right foot, open up the heart to move yourself a bit further beyond the wrists. Option again to lower the knees, chaturanga with your exhalation. Next breath in, roll the shoulders down the back, perhaps untucking your toes here to take that back bend. You may prefer to keep the toes tucked and even lift the legs. Exhalation, lower back down. Firm into the abdomen, come back up through your all fours. You may even prefer to come up through a full plank, and then move back to downward facing dog. Soften into those knees, check that we're not overextending shoulders, that we've got space into the body, and that we're introducing ourselves to these postures. That we're feeling the body slowly begin to open up, rather than trying to force our way through it or rip it open. Take your next breath in, we're going to lift those heels. Exhalation to bend the knees and look forwards. We have the options again to step or jump your way forwards. Take a breath in, push the feet down and slide the fingers up your shins. Exhalation and dive back down. Bend the knees, rolling up. Transition into that inhalation again. Move the pelvis perhaps forward. Space into the lower part of the back as we firm the abdomen. Exhale for taking forward bend, Uttanasana. Breath in, push the feet down, long spine. Exhale as we dive down. Soften the knees. Step back with right, follow it with left. Take your breath in, move the heart forward. Exhale for chaturanga. Inhale for arching of spine, hugging in the abdomen. Now feel that we can transition through the spine, hinging perhaps at the waist or just moving straight up into down dog. Check that we have length and space into the side body, that we have a sense of relaxation into the ankles. You may be treading, you may be rising and falling, but really tune into that feeling of letting go on those exhales to relax into the ankle folds. Take your next breath in, lift your heels. Exhale to bend knees, look forwards. We have our options again, so maybe floating your way forwards. Take a breath in, push the feet down, slide the fingers up the shins. Exhale for diving down, bend your knees, roll up. Last time moving fluidly here. Inhale for arching. Exhale, forward bending. Inhale, pushing feet down, long spines. Exhalation, diving down. Step back left and right. Use your inhale to move forwards with your weight. Exhale for chaturanga. Inhale for an arching of the spine, hugging in the abdomen. Exhalation, find your way back to down dog. Long and wavy spine here, so I'm trying to find that freedom here into the lowest part of the spine, pressing the ankles backwards in space, perhaps even feeling what happens here if you lift your toes, and that can help trigger the front of the legs. Take your next breath in, we're going to lift the heels. The exhale bends the knees and we look forward slightly. Stepping, jumping, walking, floating your way forwards. Take a breath in and push. That was a moment of suspension there, guys. And take your exhalation for forward bend, showing off. Bend your knees, we're coming up now to Utkatasana. So coming up to that chair position, like we had before at the start of practice. Now that feeling we had there when we were reaching the fingers out in those diagonals, go for it now with both arms. So we really feel distance away from sitting bones with fingernails, hugging in the ribs and firming into the abdomen. So I'm really protecting my spine in this position and testing my legs here, sinking a bit further. And then from here, we're going to take our forward bend again with our next exhalation. Breath in to push the feet down, slide fingers up shins, moving into Surya Namaskar B. Stepping your right foot back, follow it with left, move heart forwards and chaturanga. Inhale for an arch, hugging in the abdomen. Press and protract through those shoulders as you move back to down dog. So coming into our warriors, we're going to send the right leg backwards. Now don't worry too much about the height of the leg. Let's think more about the distance here of the heel away from the heels of the hands. With your exhale, let's hug the ribs in, firm into the abdomen, round the spine, and draw the knee forward. Can we step now between those hands, nice and elegantly? Adjust the back foot, so I'm going to drop the foot down into the floor, making sure that both bases of the feet can make contact. Push down, roll up. Arms come up to the sky. And now let's think of widening those arms a little bit. Thumbs go wider. Perhaps you may even want to take a mild arch, an opening of chest to sky, particularly when we start to come to those inhales or one singular breath for this movement. So we get a bit more space and opening into the front body. Making sure here that we're still dragging or bringing the soft tissues upwards whilst the pelvis is pushing down and slightly forward towards that right foot. Take your next breath in, really feel this position, but make it spacious. Exhale for diving down, stepping back to plank, chaturanga. Inhale for arching, firming abdomen. Exhale, move back, down dog. Breath in, left leg now reaches back in space. Keep lifting the abdominals in, press through the arms. With your exhale, curve the spine. Can we step that left foot forwards, adjust the right. Both feet sinking steady into the floor, bend into that left knee and roll up. As we roll up there, keep the arms backwards rather than coming forwards, and it offloads the spine. Come on up. Keep lifting the soft tissues onto the skeleton. So that's what you're lifting away from gravity, whereas what we're sinking into the floor with here is our skeletal structure. I'm pressing down, I'm anchoring. Chest is nice and open, thumbs roll out a little bit. Just feel this position. Feel your breath within the position. Take your next steady breath in. With exhale, forward bend. Step back, take your chaturanga. Inhale for an arching. Exhalation, find your way back, maybe with a ripple, maybe with various hinges into the joints. Breath in, send your right leg backwards. Now staying here in this position with your leg elevated, we're going to now start to move through these positions with slow and steady singular breaths. Now, if you do feel the need to go faster, or maybe take several breaths per position, that's also perfectly fine. Now, with your next steady breath in, create space. With your exhale, curve spine, step forward, adjust the back foot. Breath in, come on up, perhaps an opening of the chest. Exhale, forward bend, step back, chaturanga. Inhale for an arching of the spine. Exhalation, move back, down dog. Breath in, left leg reaches back. Feel free to open the hip if you like. Exhale for curving spine, stepping forward. Adjust the back foot. Breath in, come on up. Moving pelvis forwards and down. Exhale, take forward bend, step back, chaturanga. Inhale for an arch, lifting the pelvis a little. Exhale, move your way back, downward facing dog. Breath in for right. Exhalation, curving spine, adjust the back foot. Breath in, push from that right foot, come on up, mild arch. Exhale, take forward bend. Stepping back, chaturanga. Inhale for an arching. Your exhalation, find your way back for down dog. Left side, breath in, reaching back. Exhale, curving spine, adjust the back foot. Roll on up, breath in to lift out from the waist. Exhale, forward bend. Stepping back, take chaturanga. Inhale for an arching of spine. Exhale, come to down dog and let's sustain that position. Just check back in on the breath. How is it altered? How is the tension in your body altered? Now, noticing if we start to become a bit habitual with that walking. So feel free to use it when you need to check in or just ease out perhaps some tightening in the legs. But where possible, how can we try and find a little bit more stillness, a little bit more efficiency in our practice? Take your next breath in, we're going to lift the heels. Exhale, bends the knees and look towards the thumb joints. Options here for stepping, jumping, walking. Take a breath in, push through the feet, slide them up the shins. Exhale for diving. Utkatasana, bend your knees, sink the weight into the floor. Think of pushing the feet backwards as we come up for that chair position. Rolling the thumbs out a little bit, long back of neck. Then from here, to come to standing, simply push the feet down and move the pelvis forwards. Come to standing Tadasana. Arms come down, close your eyes. Now using this position here, nice efficient position for our gravity, and just feeling gravity fall through you like a thickened warm liquid. Just melting all those floating structures in your body down towards the ground, those shoulder blades in particular, just melting away from the back of the neck. And now from here, opening up those eyes, lean into your left foot, and we're going to step the right foot backwards towards the back end of the mat. Turn your left toes in, turn the right toes out. So we should be now roughly facing towards the back end or back corner of the mat. We're going to press the two legs down and zip the soft tissues into the hips. So that's stabilizing our legs. Now firm into the abdomen to protect your spine. Start to move the entire spine into a mild diagonal and push down into the legs. The skeleton pushes down, soft tissues lift up. Start melting into that Trikonasana. Left arm perhaps is coming up towards the sky or maybe onto the hip. Now we're going to maybe take on our little theme here of spirals in a few moments, but just feel for a nice open position here in this Trikonasana. As we open up the chest towards the side of the mat, perhaps even open to the chest if you have that capacity for rotation. Just breathing steady, anchoring yourself down through the bones of the feet. Long neck as well. Just noticing there in the necks, actually. Perhaps it feels nicer to release a little bit into the neck. For those of us who are maybe a bit tight at the moment in the neck and shoulders, or a bit stressed or anxious, just let go of the head. Let it fall a bit. Ease into your shoulder girdle. Now from here, we're going to alleviate some of the weight in this right hand. So I'm going to press through the feet, firm into the abdomen, and lift the hand away. I'm going to soften the knee of that right leg. I'm going to bring the left hand down into the floor. Now I'm going to start to search for a twisted Trikonasana. So I'm going to actually lift the back foot rather than keeping the heel sunk. And I'm going to move the right hip backwards and skywards. My left hip comes forward. Now maybe this is a good place for you to locate your friendly brick. And you can use it here on its highest setting and press into the legs, press into the hand, and that brick just gives you a little less stress into the hamstrings. I'm going to start rolling the right shoulder up to the sky. Now really use the brick. Don't try and hold this one into the abdomen. Of course, we're still firming there, but I'm going to use that brick to help me create enough space and freedom for dragging the right hip back, pushing the bones of that right leg into the floor whilst I take the twist. Tune into your breath within this contorted position. How is your breath moving? Now we are going to move into a half moon balance, but an open variant of it here. So I'm going to start softening into the right knee. I'm going to exchange this brick over. If it's a pile of magazines, you can use both hands there and just move it across. But I'm going to bring it out in front of the right toes. Now from here, I'm going to just move my weight forward. Can I firm into the abdomen and gather myself up onto that right leg and push down through the right arm? So I'm rolling the left hip up on top there, spreading the bones of that right foot into the ground. Left hip stacking up on top of right. You may have the hand on the hip there with a flexion in that foot. So you're pressing out into space. Perhaps even you want to look at the sky. I won't demo that because I will go flying. But just firming into the abdomen. Feel free to challenge yourself. Go on, I'll actually have a go. I'm going up, I'm going up, I'm going up. Oh, and there it goes, there it goes. So always set yourself those challenges. Falling over is part of the fun. Soften your right knee and lower the toes down. Move the bricks aside. Press into that right foot. We'll swivel this round to the other side. Turn in the right toes. Turn out the left. Press through two legs. So now we're facing towards that front right corner of the mat. I'm going to lift the soft tissues of the legs into the hips and firm into the abdomen. Start moving the entire body onto that diagonal rather than getting a kind of weird curve into the back. And then I'm going to firm and start sliding down here. So I'm firming into the abdomen whilst I melt into the hips. And as I melt, I'm opening the back of the pelvis. I'm feeling, perhaps even placing your hand on the back with the fingers closed like this. And then I'm thinking of slowly spreading the fingers And you may even use that as a little cue there or trigger to help find space into the lower back. Now I can use this left hand onto the shin, avoid the knee if you can, perhaps even using it in the hip if you have to be a bit higher. Perhaps even this is a good opportunity to use bricks. I'm checking in with the breath. I'm also checking in here with the neck. Checking in perhaps with the jaw. Is that TMJ joint a bit tight? Perhaps just let your jaw just drop down. So your jaw falls away to that left side. Now I'm going to firm into the abdomen, take the weight away from the left hand, soften into the knee. I'm going to start bringing the right hand down onto the floor. Maybe I'm going to use my brick again here, so lift it up a little bit. And I'm going to lift the back heel and start moving the left hip back. The right hip moves forward. So you see my back foot is away from the ground there. Don't worry if the foot is lifted. You can do it with the foot down on the floor, but I found that it just makes an unnecessary reach in that foot. So instead I'm going to focus more into that front leg and energizing through the arms. Perhaps we may even lift the left arm to the sky. Maybe the hand is on the hip. And every so often, you'll see me here with that front foot. I'm just lifting the toes away from the floor. And that's a great way of just checking with your grounding through the feet. Checking in with your efficiency here. Are we still able to keep a soft and steady breath? Let's soften into that left knee. I'm going to change the bricks or the magazines over and bring it out in front. Maybe you're using tin cans again. If they're too stacked, be very careful. I'm going to move forwards, lean into the hand. Start stacking, gathering everything up on top of that left hip. And I'm shooting the right leg backwards in space, rolling the right hip up on top, and finding a good stable position before I perhaps contemplate moving the head around and testing my balance. I'm doing a little bit better on this side. I'm flexing the foot, reaching out into space. Because I'm a bit more focused this time. Oh, and there it goes. You see, you can never be too arrogant. So I let the foot come down into the floor, and then I'm going to, from here, push from that left foot, come on back up, turn the toes in, swivel back towards the front end of your mat. I think you actually may be facing the front. Step forwards, take your arms up, firm into the abdomen as you push the pelvis forwards. Take your exhale for forward bend. Breath in, slide fingers up shins, lengthening, hugging in the ribs. Exhale, diving down. Options to jump back or step right then left, chaturanga. Inhale for an arch, perhaps even lifting the knees if you'd like. Exhale, transition for downward facing dog. Take your next steady breath in, lift up your heels. With the exhale, let's bend the knees. Move the sitting bones to sky as you bend those knees. Stepping, jumping, walking your way forwards. Bend into the knees, push the feet down. Come up towards that Utkatasana. Maybe use the hands onto the thighs. Firm into the abdomen. Push the feet down, move the pelvis forwards, come to standing. Tadasana, mountain position. From here, lean into your right foot. You're going to take your left foot back this time. So I'm going to step back with that left foot. Let's turn the right toes in, left toes out. Warrior two position. Arms float out. Now soften into that left knee a little bit and just feel that the legs are nice and stable, that left hip is drawing back into the socket, and that I'm pressing nice and stable through that back leg. And that will set your pelvis. Now keep the legs strong. Let your rib cage open to the same facing as your pelvis. Now keeping the abdomen firm, what happens if we twist to the left side? So actually twisting to face that front leg. Very different version of Warrior Two as I spiral around. I'm reaching out with that left finger far out, as far as I can go around with that spiral. Just keep going with that twist, pushing down perhaps with the right hand, stable in the legs. And this can feel beautiful. It's a very beautiful position because it's got lovely spirals. Spirals are always aesthetically pleasing. So you can see here I look like a ballet dancer. Now from here, that left arm is going to come a little bit higher, and I'm rolling up and over for reverse warrior. So I'm staying in Warrior Two with the legs. I'm maybe now going to drop that right arm down, maybe onto the leg, maybe onto the hip, and I'm reaching out into space. As I reach out, I push the pelvis down, so I create space into the side body. Now I'm going to lift up and over, coming into that Parsvakonasana. My Parsvakonasana is going to be here on my forearm, with the left arm directly up to the sky. So I'm pushing down, hugging in the abdomen. I'm trying to now hug in the left ribs. So different variants. Sometimes I do this one nice and flat with two long sides. Today, let's really go for that little bit of manipulation there into the spine. Find a bit more arc. If we let the head relax, or the neck, we get even more arc, a full rainbow curve with the spine. Now press into that left leg, start to spiral the body towards the floor. Momentary twist here, right hand onto the floor, lift the heel, spiral, and lift the left arm to the sky. Just use this as a little twist, a ringing of the spine. Left hand comes down, drop the back foot down, come back to warrior two. Push into the left leg and lengthen. Turn in the left toes, turn out the right. Now from here again, push into the two legs, warrior two on the other side, and I've got a nice drawn in right hip, whilst I'm still trying to open it up into external rotation, you see? So I'm gathering the tissue in whilst the bones open up. I'm pushing strong from the back leg to try and get a good stable position here with my legs. And then my rib cage is in the same direction as my pelvis. Arms can then float out into space. My right arm is now going to move around the corner. And I'm starting that twist. Keep the fundamental of your lower half nice and stable. So I'm twisting around the corner, lifting up perhaps the chest to the sky. Now be careful it doesn't become a big back bend. It's still a lifting up and out into space, a spinal twist. That left rib cage coming a bit further forwards perhaps. Feel that corkscrew. Can we still breathe? The great thing of twisted positions is it teaches you to breathe into different parts of your lungs. And then we start coming back, lifting up that right arm into reverse warrior, opening up the side ribs, a sideways bend of the spine here as well. Maybe that left arm just comes down. I'm going to rest it onto the hip. I often find that the hand onto the hip is a much more stable position. Certainly try and stay away from knees. Now I'm going to firm into the abdomen, lift up and curve over. Parsvakonasana. Push down through the forearm, hug in the right ribs. Left hand up to the sky. Check in with the neck here. How can we feel that balance? Now maybe I'm allowing that rainbow curve into the neck. Checking that I can still breathe. That I can push through my lovely grounded legs. I'm going to spiral that left hand down towards the floor. Momentary spinal twist here. Lean into the hand, roll the right ribs up, take the twist, coming back, bring yourself back to warrior two, push into right leg and turn the toes in. Heel toe a bit closer. Make sure your feet are now in line. You may have your left foot a little further in front of the right. So we're now facing towards that, I think it's now the right-hand side of the mat, and we're just going to take a bit of a squat down to that position, triggering into those legs, hugging them in towards that center line, gathering them in whilst the bones and the knees push out into space. Arms are reaching out, moving like a sumo wrestler. Now let's bring your hands onto your hips. We gather everything in, lift up. Let's turn the toes in. Open up the chest, push the feet backwards. Exhalation, Prasarita Padottanasana, a forward bend. So again, just hinging forward from the waist. Maybe let those hands come down towards the floor. Gently press into the floor and try and move the body further through the legs. Notice, however, if we're starting to get the curve in the spine. See if you can keep a sense of openness to the chest, a proud chest, as we press our way through. And just feeling that lovely opening to the backs of the legs. You may prefer to take a momentary twist here. Just move the right hand forward. Move the right ribs forwards in space. So I'm just creating that little bit of twist there. Coming back, move left hand forward, momentary twist. Just feel space into your back. Coming back through center. Now turn your feet towards the front end of your mat, walk your hands back and step back into plank. Chaturanga. Inhale for an arch. And your exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Take a breath in, right leg shoots back. Exhale, curve spine, step forward. Now keep the back heel lifted, come on up to parallel lunge. Breath in to create space, twist the body to the right. Left forearm comes down. Use your next breath in to create space into your spinal twist. Gather the legs into your hips, those soft tissues drawing in to the pelvis whilst you press the bones into the floor. Check that the neck is quite easy, that the spine is still free to move, but the abdominals are staying firm. Take your next breath in. Start to come out from that position. Lift yourself up and forwards. With your exhale, forward bend, hands down. Step back, chaturanga. Inhale for an arch. Exhale, press back. Breath in for left leg, reaching back. Exhale, curve spine, parallel lunge. Press into the front leg, come on up. Spinal twist to left. That back knee can soften a little bit. I start to bring right forearm across towards thigh. Take breath in and open up the chest. So I'm easing into that twist. You'll see here it's not the most open position. So it's not necessarily like it is in the textbook. You may be very flexible and can open yourself right up, and that's great. But for myself, I'm listening to my body. I'm feeling the access that I have into this position in my own body today. You may feel different tomorrow. Take your next breath in. Come back through center. Lift yourself up tall. With exhalation, take forward bend. Stepping back to plank, chaturanga. Inhale for an arch. Now this time, lower your knees. Move back through child's pose, but press straight away through those shins and roll your way up. From here, swing the legs around to the front. We'll take a Janu Sirsasana. So for this, I'm going to draw the right leg back first and drop the leg down. I'm going to now move into this little orientation to help us with this one. So I'm drawing the foot back. Feel free, let that leg drop down. If you need to, use your mags. Use your magazines here, your stack of National Geographic. And you can use that to help you feel comfortable. This left knee may be bending. That's also perfectly fine. Take a breath in, lean into your left hand, and open up the chest to the sky. Now, don't worry about getting the head to the floor. It's not important. Just lift out into space, and then start moving the left hand a bit further forwards. Your hip is really the focus, and the lower part of the spine on the right side. So I'm trying to move the knee away from the body. I'm trying to open up a bit more space here into that lower part of my back on the right-hand side. For those with lower back trouble, you'll really feel that probably is an area of tightness for you. You may even prefer, if they're hovering a little bit there, use the hand and just help you anchor down. As you sink the hand in, drag it around the corner, so you're moving the tissue. Breathe steady. Flex the toes back to the shins, so you're keeping the legs energized. You see here, I'm not in the deepest of positions, but I'm definitely feeling work going on in my spine. It doesn't matter about the absolute demonstration of a full posture. The full posture is where your body goes, and that's it. I start to firm into the abdomen, protecting spine. I'm going to lift my way up, out from the position, draw that right knee in, send the right leg forward, left leg is now pulling back, and I'm dropping it down. So I'll swivel this way this time. So I'm drawing that left foot back. I'm twisting the body a little bit towards the open space in front of the shin. Right hand is coming down. I'm lifting out of the waist and hinging sideways. I'm now going to use my hand perhaps to help encourage the left hip down and open it. So I'm moving the tissue around the leg. It's the feeling like of almost thinking that you have a sausage, and the sausage has the little bit of skin around it, and there's the actual minced up meat, or if it's vegan, I don't quite know, soya inside there, and you've got the skin. You're moving just the skin. Don't try and move the soya in the middle. And you're just trying to move the skin around the outer edge. And as you take that into that twist, you maybe even feel that it allows your spine itself to roll into a twist, and you can open the chest to that left side a little easier. Check in with your spine here that we are supporting it with the abdominals, but perhaps we're going more for a lengthening than too much of a rainbow spine. Firming into the abdomen, let's start to lift out. Flexing those feet as you go. As I come back through center, I'm going to bend the knees. Let's place the feet into the floor. Hands come behind you, inverted plank. Option here is, of course, to let your feet go long. Press on up and open up your chest. Now, be very careful here that we don't over-move the chest, and we leave the pelvis down and just go for this. Now I've collapsed the spine, so I'm going to keep the abdomen firm to lift the pelvis, and I'm opening the chest. Great one for strengthening the back line of the body. And slowly begin to lower the pelvis down into the floor. Draw your knees towards your chest, come forwards. Let's move back into a forward laying position, a prone position, laid onto the front. Arms come out into the sides, like a kind of cactus position with the arms. Feet can go a bit wider here, so not going too close here and over squeezing a little bit. Anyone with lower back problems, that's really not going to be nice for you anyway. So open up your legs a bit further. Firm into the abdomen, push the pelvis down. Now flex the feet and lengthen the legs, so push down with the toes. And you'll feel that lifts the knees. Now all we're going to do is, instead of pushing down with the toes, we're going to transition the load into the back of the legs. So just lift up your toes away from the floor, keeping your legs long. Then let's lift the arms. And now we have this kind of standing position, like our beginning position, where the arms come up overhead, and we arc backwards. I'm standing on the floor right now. You can see my feet are standing on the floor, and I'm lifting up and opening towards the sky. And I'm triggering the back chain of the body. So not just I'm trying to work with one muscle, I'm working with the entire back surface of the body. And slowly lower down. Now our next one is Dhanurasana, bow position. So I'm first of all just going to take a moment, give the spine a break, breathe into the belly. And again going to firm into the abdomen. Start now to push down the pelvis into the floor. Flex the feet, push the toes down to lift the knees and lengthen legs. Then let's lift the legs. Start to lift the chest. Maybe the arms now come around towards the back. I'm going to bend the knees, and can I find the feet? Trying to do it without too much wriggling around there. Flex the toes back and kick the feet back. So I'm opening up the front line of the body. Doesn't need to be the deepest position. I'm staying with my breath here as well. If you can't breathe in the position, you're probably a bit too high, pushing a bit too hard. It's difficult to talk in this position, that's for sure. But I'm breathing into the belly. If you're breathing strong in the belly, you may even feel that there's a rocking action going on. Feel free to enjoy that. It's a lovely massage for the gastrointestinal areas. And then slowly I'm going to release the legs. Bring the hands under the shoulders, press back, keeping the abdomen firm there as I move back. Come up to sitting on your shins. Just close your eyes for a second. Now, following that work there into the back line, just let everything melt. Let your shoulders sink down. This is your new variant for child's pose. So following back bends, rather than doing child's pose and overstretching the lower spine, come back to this position here. Let it all relax. Let it release. Then after everything softens, see if you can then do child's pose. It may feel different. But take a moment, just let yourself relax in this position. Let's bring the hands down. Momentary exploration of our inversion. So for our inversion today, we're going to work with a headstand, and perhaps if we're feeling comfortable with headstand, you can explore twisting. So I'm going to talk that through very carefully. Make sure there are no glass vases anywhere in close proximity. No valuables. No lovely kind of sentimental crystal vases from parents or omas and opas. So I'm going to actually do this a little bit more on a kind of diagonal here so you can see the movement of the spine. So for anyone who's maybe a little bit nervous of headstanding, you can just take those first few initial stages, tune in, and you stay there. Try not to quit, and then come up and just observe me doing things. Try and stay in your body, in your practice, okay? So I'm going to bring the forearms down, interlacing fingers, and I'm going to release the thumb. I'm going to bring the crown of the head down, and I'm firming into the abdomen, so I'm gathering all of that tissue in to support it here. I'm going to press the elbows down. Now I'm going to bring those hands, I'm just going to move myself a bit more here for a moment. I'm going to bring those elbows a bit closer. So rather than going too wide here, go a bit closer with your hands, or elbows that is. And then from here, I'm going to curve into the upper parts of the spine and lift the knees. Okay, so here, this may be your position of rest for now, and just getting used to draining into the skull. Perhaps you feel comfortable enough to come up to this little gathered shape here, like a little bean. And maybe you can even investigate there a momentary twist into the spine. It's lovely in that position because it's not too unstable, and you can get that little movement of twist. If you're feeling a bit braver, we can go all the way up, and maybe even have the legs open, and we can try twisting from there. And just feel the twist in the spine. So the legs will move like a helicopter, but you can see that the focus here is on creating some form of spiral into the back. I'll just show that again once more from this little orientation. So coming here, into my headstand and twisting. And just feel the movement in the spine. Draw your attention to that center line. Don't worry about what the feet are doing, what the legs are doing. Just focus in on that center part of the body. Okay, and then slowly gather yourself back into the center. Let the feet find the floor, and we'll lower down. From your headstands, come back up to sitting up on your shins. Take a moment there, have your hands on your thighs. Everything drains. Tip off to one side. Let your legs come out in front of you. Firm into the abdomen. Hinge back first. So I'm now working strong with the core. And when I feel I've got to that point where my legs become super light, tuck the tailbone under and roll down. And then from there, just let your arms open up, legs open perhaps a bit wider. And we could transition into our Shavasana. Just feel the soft tissues of the body that we spent our time there gathering onto the body. Excuse me. Just let that soften away from the skeleton. Feel gravity here just peeling away those layers of soft tissue. So we feel the weight of the skeleton on the ground. We feel those lovely squidgy layers that help support and protect that spine. All those skeletal structures in the lower body, in the upper body, around your shoulders, arms, and your skull as well. And just feel how your skeleton bobs around in this matrix of softness, your body's bubble wrap. Now feel free to take an elongated Shavasana, but if you're joining me live and wish to give us a little thumbs up and a wave and say ta-ta, then we'll start to slowly wake ourselves up here. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle toes, give a little roll in the wrists and ankles, little tip of the head from side to side, and then rolling off to a different direction, perhaps your left or your right, whichever one you prefer. Obviously not, well, there's only left or right. And then we come on up, bring yourself back to a comfortable seated position, and just let your bones fall into the floor, let your eyes close for this final moment, and just check in with your body here. Firming into the abdomen, gather everything to the center, let your eyes gradually open, take a big breath in, bring the hands together in front of your heart, and thank you all very much. Have a very lovely day ahead of you. Thank you all. Stay grounded.